Hey, what's up guys? It's your boy, that little lippy smile that you give to your coworker that you don't really know too well yet, and welcome back to another video. I know what you guys are thinking. You're probably like, damn, Flock of Turtles uploaded a video and it didn't take him 2 months from the last one. This is pretty cool. I can get used to this. If you are thinking that way, then that's good, because I've actually decided to finally start taking YouTube semi-seriously, and I want to upload at least twice a month from now on. If you aren't excited about seeing more videos from me, then I'll just go fuck myself, I guess, I don't know. Anyways, today's another Elden Ring Convergence Mod video, and this time, we'll be going full primal with the Bestial Devout starting class. And before we get into it, I should also mention that this was recorded about halfway through July, so there have probably been some weapons or armor pieces added to the game that are meant for this class, but I recorded this before the last update, so alright, that's enough of that. Let's actually get into the video. The starting area for the Bestial Devout is in the Groveside Cave, and upon spawning here, I found a man who happens to be very much not alive. I didn't have the time nor the desire to give him a proper burial, so I just went over to the local neighborhood withering corpse and grabbed my pathway and my starting spells. Well, technically, I already had my starting spells, but I have them again now. And so all of the cool shit that I can get my hands on is as follows. The Shimmering Rune of Beasts is in the Limgrave Tunnels, the Glowing Rune is in the Dragon Barrow Cave, the Shining Rune is in the Ariza Hero Grave, and the Radiant Rune is in the Hidden Path to the Hallig Tree. And all of the notable armor sets are found here, and here. I didn't want to waste any time right off the bat. The Groveside Cave is pretty close to the Limgrave Tunnel, so I called an Indian Uber and I got there lickety-split. The Stone Digger Troll is a very easy opponent, but I had to let him get some hits in every once in a while to give him the illusion that this was a fair fight. Yeah, but honestly, even with the plain old Cestus gloves, this was a walk in the park, he says as he gets absolutely mollywop, obliterated even. I'm alright though, I can take a pounding as long as I get a reward at the end of it. Anyways, from the Shimmering Rune of Beast we get access to Tail Swipe, Horn Charge, Bestial Vitality, and Earthen Spikes. Or as I like to call Earthen Spikes, literally just the move Earth Power from Pokemon. After I vanquished my first major enemy, I took the portal behind the Third Church of Marika, and I wound up in... fuck, this definitely wasn't the right portal. After I managed to find my way out of Neverland, I attempted to strike up conversation with one of the locals. However, he was just kind of sitting there breathing heavily and may have been smelling the air to try to catch my scent, so I just left. I also scaled down the back of the Bestial Sanctum, but I didn't record it because I don't think you guys want to see me fall to my death 40 times before picking up the Chinkadilla. And then I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm feeling myself right now. I usually have good luck against the Black Blade Kindreds and the Valiant Gargoyles. Let me take a shot at this guy. How hard could it be? Yeah, the answer is, very hard. Very hard, actually, yeah. But that's fine, because after that, I decided to take out my frustrations on the Erdtree avatars. If you see my last 2 Convergence Mod videos, you know exactly what's coming. If you guessed that it was me making a meal out of the avatars and gaining an absurd amount of levels, you would be correct. Next up on the agenda was gathering the second spell rune, and on the way, I got my hands on the Regal Beast Claw. Now, I completely forgot where I picked this up from because 1, it's been so long since I recorded this, and 2, I physically didn't even record it to begin with, so either way, I don't even think it really matters. I don't know what it was, man, but the Beastman of Farum Azula here was giving me some trouble. They replaced the double battle in the Dragon Barrow Cave with a beefed up single guy, and this should have been a lot easier to deal with. I think part of it was I didn't feel like running back through the cave all over again if I died, so I was playing very timidly. And I should mention that the regular Cestus is probably one of my least favorite weapons in the game for the simple fact that there's just literally a straight up better version of it that you can get. It got even worse when I ran out of Crimson Flasks because I just started playing with this bitch ass hit and run style that even I'm ashamed of looking at. And what you're seeing here is exactly what I was doing the entire time. I'd wait for enough distance to open up and I'd use Earthen Spikes. Then I would counter the Beastman's long-winded combo with a whopping singular attack. And as you can imagine, this took a fucking eternity. Now, eventually I took out the Beastman with Earthen Spikes followed up by a textbook bitch slap. In addition to the Glowing Beast rune, we got the Beastman's Cleaver for our troubles. I don't know if I'm going to use it, but it's good to have anyway. And from this spell rune, we gain Stone Spears, Bestial Strength, and Garank's Beast Claw. I thought that Bestial Strength was going to be the only one that was going to make its way into the setup because its effects are generally just beneficial across the board. Not to mention that when I tested out Stone Spears, I found I could only cast it twice before I would run out of FP, so that did not spark joy. Since my spells were pretty subpar, in my opinion at this point, I decided to prioritize a melee setup. So I went and grabbed the Iron Balls from Blackguard just in case I needed these for later. Like a bunch of other people, I did a run with only the Iron Balls, but I did mine in New Game Plus 4 with 99 Strength. You should watch that video after this one. After I acquired the Iron Balls, I once again used my expert negotiation skills to bargain with Bernal so I could get his armor set. His armor set's passive abilities lean more into weapon usage, and I was perfectly fine with that. At this point in the run, I was starting to feel like that was the move anyway. Next up is the Margit fight, and you think that by now I'd be riding a wave of confidence, but no! I was sucking harder than Monica Lewinsky in this fight. So it's become pretty well known at this point that a lot of people nowadays have dopamine scepters that are absolutely fried from the amount of pleasure-seeking activities that people participate in, and it doesn't even have anything to do with hedonistic things. A lot of it just has to do with like social media and short-form content. Well, the reason I bring this up is because my relationship with Margit is related in a cosmic sort of way that might not make any sense on the surface, and it still might not make any sense after I explain it, but I'll try my best here. So before I began making videos on the Convergence mod, all of my Elden Ring videos were made using the same character on the same save file, and I would just go through New Game Plus with this sort of theme build as opposed to actually challenging myself like a big boy. And because of that, I got accustomed to getting to Margit within about 10 minutes of starting a new journey, and more often than not, I would just obliterate him. Sometimes the fight wouldn't even last 60 seconds. Basically, what this has to do with all the dopamine response mumbo jumbo is that I'm so used to doing stupid amounts of damage to bosses that my baseline expectation for damage output has not been realistic in such a long time. Another side effect is that I don't really know how to fight that many of the bosses that well. So yeah, that was a really long-winded and maybe unnecessary explanation and metaphor for how my runs have been going in Elden Ring. Don't forget to subscribe for more nonsense and rambling. Hello everybody. That was a pretty interesting Godrick fight, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Is what I would say if I actually fucking recorded it, but here we are. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I beat him though, so you're not gonna let this minor mistake get between you and me as, you know, viewer and content creator, because, you know, I'm not perfect. Nobody is. And you know what? That's fine. But at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know what to say. I forgot to record the fight. Here's his remembrance. Here's the friggin' the first keystone of the forge. I did it, and yeah. There it is. After my fiasco with Godrick, I made my way into the Altus Plateau, walked into the Ariza hero's grave, picked up the upgraded seal, no, not that kind of seal, and then I got into the boss arena where thankfully there was only Ordovis down here without his butt buddy fighting alongside him. I was playing this patiently and leaning into the horn charge a lot in this fight. The main reason being it completely stopped whatever attack animation that the Crucible Knight started. There were a few close calls and exchanges that left me scratching my head and wondering how I didn't take any damage, but I will never complain if something goes my way in this game. Not only do we get the third spell room, but we get access to a fantastic weapon in Ordovis' greatsword. And from the third spell room, we get the Stone of Garank's Upheaval, Primal Regeneration, and Landslide. 3 of these spells are just straight upgrades to spells that I already have, but Primal Regeneration adds another possible dimension to my buff sequence. This grants 17 HP and 1 FP recovery per second, as well as extra stamina recovery. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going for the 4th spell rune, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. Actually, nobody had to do anything to stop me. I couldn't find any spot that could have remotely contained the rune to begin with. But then I was like, wait a minute, maybe this is it over here. It wasn't the rune, but the stone claws are a weapon that I can use for this class, so it's better than nothing. I managed to take that same invisible pathway in a different direction, and I wound up in a spot that I never knew existed in the hidden path to the Halleck Tree. The boss arena contained a stray mimic tier, and I was relieved when I saw that. It's nice to be able to fight a boss that you can just bully every once in a while. Poor guy probably thought that he actually had a chance. Look guys, there's really nothing to talk about here. Out of respect for the Mimic Tier and his family, I won't show the entirety of the fight because I do not want to embarrass him like that. The final Bestial Devout spell rune sees us gain Seismic Shock, Crucible Spear, Bestial Fervor, and Source of Creation. After gathering that last rune, I took the time to upgrade my weapons and set up some other things for later in the run. One of the things I did was take out the Caleb Blackblade Kindred, which had been placed behind the Bestial Sanctum in this Farum Azula themed arena that the Convergence team designed. Killing him opens up a portal to Farum Azula. And yeah, I still own his bitch ass. Not only that, we got another weapon and armor set for this class, but I already knew I was more interested in the armor than the Black Halberd. The other weapons that you gain access to are just far superior in my opinion. After a few other detours, it was time to get back to some actual progression, and that meant taking on a second Keystone boss. As you can guess, it was going to be Radahn. But before we can do that, there is a small roadblock by the name of Dak that we have to take care of. I like to think of Dak as a cooler version of Moongrum. You know, the dude that stands in between you and indulging in your foot fetish. Dak is a lively character, but his moves are very basic and they don't require that much effort to dodge. I think it's because most of his moves have very long wind-up speeds and there aren't that many mix-ups that you have to worry about. Jesus Christ, I don't know about you guys, but I know I wouldn't want to be on the opposite end of a combo like that. Good God. Ordovis' greatsword is just the definition of crack, so it didn't take that long at all to finish off this fight. Okay, so I have a question that I feel like I need to ask someone, but I'm afraid, and I'm kind of embarrassed by it. Keep in mind, this is definitely along the lines of a shower thought, okay? Oh, but before we get into the question, I added the Crucible Spear to the lineup. It's basically just the Ash of War from Soluria's Tree. Definitely recommend. Okay, now back to my question here. It is science related, so if you don't care about science, please skip forward, and if you are well versed in biology, please do not make fun of me for asking this question, okay? So every living creature has a certain number of chromosomes in our cells, right? Humans have 23 chromosomes, and we have 2 copies of each, so that makes 64. Dolphins have 44, wolverines have 42, peanuts, mangoes, and hyenas all have 40. So my question is this. If, for some reason, due to some type of cosmic intervention, I gained or lost chromosomes in every cell in my body, would I just turn into something else? Like, if I gained 2 more chromosomes, would I just turn into a potato? Or would I turn into a pan-troglodyte instead? I really don't know. Because in my mind, if every cell in my body was instantaneously switched to a new amount of chromosomes, there would just be no time for my human cells to reproduce. So would that mean I'm still even human at that point? Or would I just be the shell of the man I once was, confined to a life of misery and hardship, due to the weight of my extra chromosomes in addition to my massive balls? Damn, it took me so long to get those thoughts out of my head that I didn't even have time to talk about General Radahn. You're definitely gonna hear me talking about Sierra though. This dude was whooping my ass and I was getting frustrated. If not, then I think I'm just hopeless at this game. Holy shit, I tried locking on and I couldn't do it. Like, the damage that I get from my incantations is just not enough to warrant how slow the casting speed is. And just how much I put myself in harm's way when I'm using them. It's really not worth it at all. Ooh, baby. That was a close one. Stone Spears ain't that bad. It just uses a shitload of FP. And he can dodge it very easily. Alright, I'm not gonna get cheesed by a stray lightning strike that time. That ain't happening. Oh, you. I hate you. I keep having a burn flask because I'm literally, like, he can one-shot me at any given fucking point. Like, from this. Oh my god, dude. I don't even know how I'm supposed to dodge that. Oh my god. Dude, if I don't have that physic tier on, I literally would have died probably like 4 separate times right now. It's insane. I don't know how I'm alive. Well, yeah, that answers the question. Clearly, I was having a little bit of trouble wrapping my head around the fight, but you already know how we do things around here. By that, I mean we just do the same thing everyone else does. Continuously respawn with unlimited attempts to be successful, because the only real way to lose in this game is to refuse to learn from your mistakes. I found great success in utilizing my Ash of War, which is something that I was afraid of doing in my earlier attempts because I didn't think the animation would be quick enough. Turns out, if you just don't go for the charge variation all the time, you might actually be successful. Now that was good. I'll take that. Damn. See what happens when I don't talk while I try to fight? I focus up and I win. I had my sights set on Placidusax next, but before that, there was a minor roadblock in the way that I completely forgot to mention in the last video. Yeah, there's actually a special boss arena just here for Lanciax on the way up to Placidusax. My first attempt ended in my untimely demise, so you will not be seeing that one. Instead, you're only going to see the footage of my successful gameplay in order to create the illusion that I am in fact an expert gamer at this game. There's not much to talk about in here because I kept it pretty simple. I got up close, I used a fully charged Ash of War. When I wasn't up close, I charged up the Crucible Spear and let her rip Beyblade style into Lanciax's ginormous skull. Now there was one last piece of prep that I needed to do before the Dragon Lord fight. If you were paying attention and not playing with your dinghy a few minutes ago, you would have seen me pick up the Stone Claws before the 4th spell rune. I fully upgraded them and I gave them a little test drive because when I did my run with the Iron Balls, I beat Placidusax my first try without much trouble. So I figured using another fist weapon would probably yield similar results. The main thing I was excited about was the absolute demonic Ash of War on these things. I'm pretty sure you get a poise boost so large that a freight train couldn't even stop you from attacking. Like look at this. Look at this shit. The DPS on that is insane. It is not fair. Okay, trigger warning. You guys are gonna hate me again. So, to make a long motherfucking story short, I failed miserably on my first attempt, and then I forgot to unpause OBS on my second attempt, which just so happened to be my winning attempt. Yeah, I think it would be wise for me to just stick to my day job at this point. What do you guys think? Just because I have a hard time remembering to do the most basic thing that a content creator is supposed to do, that doesn't mean there isn't any good news to come out of this run, okay? Now, despite all of my recent struggles with Maliketh, well, we'll scratch that. Despite all of my long-term struggles with him, I was actually able to beat him on my first attempt this time around. The majority of my problems happen in Phase 1 because my little smooth brain can't comprehend his slightly off-kilter combo timings on some of his moves, even though I've seen them hundreds of times at this point. You know, I would feel like that too if I got beaten by me. Once I got through the opening attack sequence unscathed, I was actually starting to feel confident in myself, and it is a miracle when that happens. The secret sauce to beating Maliketh is that you just can't get caught up in all the epilepsy-inducing light shows that happen. I'm not gonna lie, when I accidentally unlocked from Maliketh right there, I was mentally prepared to see myself die, but I made it out okay. Whenever Maliketh would finally slow the hell down and give me a chance to breathe, I'd zap him with the Crucible Spear. I got into some hot water a couple times, but I was not meant to fail this time. I beat him with his own powers at the end. Stone Spears is great for that situation where you need to kill off a boss with a quick final combo, but my god does it eat up so much FP. That's the only real downside I found with this build. The FP cost of all the spells mean you have to have more mind than Albert Einstein. Looking back on it, I did these bosses in such a weird order, but my motto is this: if it works, then it's not stupid. And it's easy to have a clean fight when you're doing this much damage per attack. I haven't felt this powerful since I burned all those ants with a magnifying glass back in the day. Sigurd couldn't handle the jumping attacks. He couldn't handle the lunging attacks. He couldn't hang with stone spears. And at the end of the day, he just couldn't hang with me, period. Next up in the boss rush is Morgott, which might be one of my favorite bosses in the game. If I didn't have to kill him to advance on my journey, I imagine he'd be a cool guy to sit down and grab a few beers with. But at this point in time, he is not interested in grabbing a beer, shot, seltzer, cider, even a frozen margarita with me. But you know what? That's fine. I understand that not everyone has to be friends with me and that it's okay to have people that just don't like you. To be fair to Marmaduke, I would also be full of disdain for the world if I was born with horns jutting out of every nook and cranny of my body. At one point, I got bored and I just decided to launch a stone of Garank at his dome. Call that a head stone. I gave Morgott a Baja Blast, followed by the old Razzle Dazzle, and then I finished him off with Stone Spears because it seems like that's all these damn things are even good for. Back to back to back bosses beaten on my first try. Unfortunately, my streak of first trying bosses ended on the Fire Giant, but I'm not gonna fail this time. The Stoneclaw's Ash of War finally had its moment in the spotlight in the major boss fight. The concept is great on paper, but it's just been hard to pull off so far. If narrowly avoiding death was a sport, I'd be the #1 ranked athlete in the world. I almost got fried and tenderized within the space of 5 seconds. After the Fire Giant fell to his second phase, I did the same exact thing I did in my first attempt, and I went straight for those meaty little sausage fingers. I even stayed with the breakfast theme after I got flattened like a pancake. After a series of hit and runs, I was slowly chipping away at the Fire Giant's health and at his ginormous thick thighs. I closed out the fight with a Crucible Spear after gaining some separation. Most of the time, separations aren't a good thing, but in this case, it was perfect. After that, I got one last sniff of Melina before she sacrificed herself, leaving me to fend for myself as a holeless man in this holeless world while undertaking a holeless endeavor. I'm sorry, but this Gideon death animation will never not be funny. And yeah, Scarred was actually kicking my ass this time around. The second death was even worse than the first for the simple fact that I went out the same way that Gideon did, which is the ultimate L. Things were just not going my way at all. I mean, this was just an absolute bloodbath for hours on end. But after a few more attempts, I was able to take care of him. And it was a tough fight. Okay, look me in the eyes. Do you really want me to admit that I didn't record a boss fight for the third time? Don't worry though, I actually remembered to record the important ones. Godfrey was a strange fight, and this was mainly because I wanted to experiment with the Source of Creation spell and see if I can make it work. I forget exactly what buffs it gives to the player, but I remember them being very good. The downside is that you heal everyone and everything within a certain radius of you, and that includes bosses. So the fight didn't really begin until after the effects of that spell wore off because I didn't feel like watching all of my hard work get counteracted by my own doing. When Godfrey got down to his second phase, I had what was easily my scariest interaction with him. That is the guy you never want to get caught in the corner with. I had to cut out so much from this fight because by my estimation, I was just running around and avoiding being hit probably like 70% of the time. Alright, well let me backtrack. I was trying to avoid being hit, but unfortunately, I am just simply a magnet for Hoarlu's feet. While he was having success with his feet, I was doing the same with my hands. I'm a big fan of the fist and claw weapons in this game. It also helps to have a ranged option as good as the Crucible Spear too. It set me up perfectly in the end stages of the fight. I finally found a window to chain some hits together and finish things off. Onward and upward, gentlemen. I know earlier I mentioned that Morgott is probably my favorite boss in the game, but the more I think about it, it's probably Radahn. Longtime viewers might remember the trials and tribulations I endured in my first playthrough of Elden Ring, which also just so happened to be my very first playthrough of any FromSoft title whatsoever. Radahn was the ultimate stumbling block. I ended up taking over 150 tries to beat the Radahn fight, and it even made me put the game down for over a month, and it delayed my video output and probably the growth of my channel. Granted, it's not that much, but I'd like to think that if I didn't take 10 months to finish playing through Elden Ring for the first time, I'd probably be in a better spot on YouTube, but the Bestial Mauling Ash War came in super clutch at the end. I tanked the hell out of that stomp and mollywopped the King Consort Crossdresser. The Elden Beast was arguably the easiest fight of the run, and it seems like it's always going to be like that in the Convergence Mod no matter what class you choose. It definitely took me a minute or two to get my next opportunity for damage, but when I did, it was just not fair whatsoever. I was taking off chunks of his health the size of the state of Alaska. Elden Beast got so many rings that he's about to start competing with Jennifer Lopez soon. And boy, I was out here hacking and slashing like Freddy Krueger. There isn't too much to say about how the fight ended. One of the Elden Beast's most basic attacks, an easy punish, wham bam thank you ma'am, and that caps off a run with some of the most fun weapons I've used thus far. The spells kinda suck though, I'm not gonna lie. Well everyone, that's the end of the video. If you stuck around for this long, be sure to give yourself a pat on the back because nowadays being able to pay attention for something longer than 30 seconds is a superhuman trait. I'm having a lot of fun playing through the Convergence mod, and if there are any other classes you guys want me to do, let me know. I'm currently playing through the mod with the Vulcanist class, so if that sounds like something you're into, be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you know exactly when that video goes live. That's all from me for today. I've been Flock of Turtles, you've been amazing, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody.